My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. This is Allied Universal engaged in stalking with Union Pacific. They're doing so with the Ontario Police Department. They're engaged in criminal summoning. That's amplified train activity. This is a demon. That's combined with the federal RICO case of the government that's gang stalking with third parties and third-party companies like Allied Universal. This is at Ontario Town Square. This is where an entity is engaged in what is touching me with which Allied Universal has committed. All the way over on the opposite side where the El Bacon is, the impossible light activity, their headlights are not going to reach over there. This is a sex offender. This is a demon that's engaging in surveillance with the Ontario police that were engaged in conspicuous surveillance along Euclid Avenue with the airport. This is how you know what Allied Universal is doing. The airport is here stalking. The entity just got through flying in circles over me. This is what Allied Universal is doing. They're stalking. And they're engaging in that while they are sex offenders, demons, using vehicles to engage in demonic behavior, which you're going to prosecute companies for. And the people of the state that engage in that are also going to be committed. Allied Universal engaging in that sex offense of molesting with impossible light while they are targeting, stalking, knowing exactly who I am and where I'm at. And this is the mentally ill behavior shared by the gang members of the Ontario Police, which is also why that agency is being disbanded for the criminal activity of corrupt companies like Allied Universal. This is P.O.C. They are monitoring on my device. They're engaged in federal stalking. They are not engaged in security services. They are engaged in criminal surveillance. This is P.O.C. license plate. I've heavily documented them. And Steve is the CEO that I'm going to be prosecuting this company, and Steve is a terrorist leader while this company is engaged in surveillance in California. 9 Larry Victor Robert 315. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, you're going to see the positioning of the planes. It's not flying over the El Bacone because I'm not over there. And this was the criminal monitoring that the Ontario Police engaged in with the people of the state. Now they're engaging in the cartwheel just like they were at Hawthorne and Euclid Avenue. The entity's listening to me narrate their stalking tactics, and so you're making a turn. They are engaging in what is relevant positioning. Their positioning of stalking with planes. There are no takeoffs that are engaging in cartwheels. Number one. Number two, the entities engaging what is stalking at the square, and they're not proceeding over the El Bacone venue. They were flying through the center of the field, and they're doing so because I'm on this side of the large clock. This is the evidence that's going to put the Ontario Police in federal prison. I maintain a playlist documenting the gang stalking. This is criminal surveillance. It's terrorism by the people who are at the Ontario Town Square stalking with the government, where Leo is documented engaged in what is terrorizing me, also discriminating against me based on economic status. That's the audible activity. It's also relevant to prosecuting for all the ways in which the entity is engaged in violation of the law, doing so in furtherance of murder with the government. That's stalking at what is 12. Sorry. It is currently 1:29 a.m. This is my shuttle and here's my shuttle over here. The people of the state are maintaining surveillance. The entity is engaged in what is stalking surveillance by the airport. And you're paying attention. There's a bigger picture. I've been capturing this for years all over the Ontario Town Square, when I'm at the amphitheater, when I'm on that side of the property, when I'm over here by the wall, based on where I'm located at the rear front going toward the venue. And you'll see the entity stalking based on where I'm located. This is not just now while they're engaging in a cartwheel. And there are no takeoffs from the airport at this time right now, nor are they flying over this location at any point when they're engaged in legitimate flights from the 25 and 2900 Airport Road. But what you're paying attention to is this is the same exact criminal conduct where the entity was stalking me on this side of the field over here, where the Ontario Police Department were stalking using criminal summoning as the guise of what is conspicuous surveillance, which is psychologically threatening. It is criminal stalking conduct by entity that wears police uniforms to get away with stalking with the people of the state that are the entity that is engaging in conspicuous surveillance as well. Very highly malicious conduct where the entity is engaging in that together in concert. The Ontario Police that have been documented engaging in this, doing so while the Ontario Airport are on my podcast. You can hear me speaking. They're flying right over there while I'm seated over there. While I'm on this side, this is the entity that's engaging in that. That's what they were doing while the airport was stalking with the police, with the helicopter, while they conducted what is an iteration of criminal summoning. This is relevant to what is the prosecution. The entity will be federally prosecuted for every documented act of terrorism where they are stalking me and doing so via criminal summoning, which is a very heavily documented malicious tactic. Alrighty, the entity is engaged in surveillance as while wearing those police uniforms, and that is mentally ill behavior. Stalking in helicopters, as the entity is doing, as I documented, is mentally ill, absurdly mentally ill behavior. And stalking as a population, stalking with light, stalking under objects such as I've shown you the fake sun and the fake moon. Mentally ill behavior, and doing so as a malicious guise of wanting to merely stalk another person while you're engaged in a whole fake purpose, a whole fake existence, like what the Ontario Police Department are engaging in. That is very foolish evidence, which is going to put that agency, all those kidnappers and stalkers, they're going to prison for that. Every iteration of stalking and kidnapping, they're going to prison. And that pattern of conduct, the terrorist leader himself, Mike LORENZ, that's what's relevant regarding the Ontario International Airport stalking at 1 o'clock in the morning and adjusting their their position based on where I'm located. That's what you're paying attention to. It's the same thing with the environment. Where I'm located on this property, the fake sun is located over me. And it is remaining for the duration of the day, which is a matter of evidence as well. At day and night, the Ontario police are already prosecuted. This is P.O.C. It is currently where Allied Universal is gang stalking with that Ontario Police Department. That's the previous video. That's exactly the criminal system that they were engaging in. Surveillance. And it's 1:32 a.m. This is P.O.C. This is the entity that breaks the law. Okay, they're engaged in what is surveillance with the government, and they're engaging in this with regard to what is keeping me under surveillance. And these are psychopaths, mentally ill behavior. They're present, engaging in what is conduct that has to do with stalking another person, while they are outwardly conducting themselves as though they are concerned with each other, conversing with each other, not the least concerned about you. And the entity that is literally stalking as the government and stalking, these are the light slingers themselves. These are the demons themselves. They're mentally ill, and they're going to be federally prosecuted for terrorism in California. This is the entity stalking. And this is exactly where we were doing stalking with the Ontario Police Department, who were targeting me via the use of a traffic stop, which is the malicious guise of stalking by police departments that are engaged in targeting, as Mike LORENZ is and the people of the state are in Ontario, California. And as you'll see from the previous video that I captured at 1 o'clock, when I'm at a different location at the town square, which was over here by the clock, the demons were stalking in commercial planes through the field and engaged in what is making a cartwheel to fly in the opposite direction, because I was showing you what you already know and what you will already observe through the body of evidence of the Ontario International Airport stalking me in, throughout Ontario. Moreover, the entity, there are no terminals, so it doesn't matter whether you're engaging in stalking by doing cartwheels in the air and flying back in the opposite direction, or stalking by flying over any building at the square, including the El Bacon Mule Cart Smokehouse over Euclid Avenue at B Street, hovering and creating what is amplified plane activity in that engineered environment. This is the entity that is stalking under all circumstances, doing so in the specific environment with the people of the state who are up at 2 a.m. That's why I documented this black Nissan truck. They're engaged in what is stalking me systematically with the city of Ontario. That's with the same Ontario Police Department, by the way. And that's why they are documented, engaging in what is psychotic behavior, stalking in the dark, monitoring with the government that maintains surveillance, aerial surveillance, while the people who are engaged in stalking all around me and molesting with light. This is what they're doing while I'm walking into the city of UPLAND, which is not traffic. This is surveillance, which is also what you're looking at while the Ontario Police Department commits sexual assault and battery, molesting with engineered lights that happen to be the red and blue and white lights of referred to as police lights. They were committing sexual assault and battery. They're demon possessed, just like the people of the state that are engaging in sexual assault and battery at the downtown Ontario luxury apartments, the Sarah's Regis venue that's going to be federally prosecuted as a gang stalker. Okay, this is P.O.C. The entities engaging what is flying based on relevant positioning is referred to exactly the way it sounds. The entity is stalking, and they are stalking me wherever I'm at. Relevant to where I'm located, that's where the entity is located. That's literally the definition of stalking. This is stalking not just from place to place. It's from position to position, location to location, movement to movement, because these are demons who are monitoring. The entire Metro 102 apartments is documented. The demons, as residents and employees, are being federally prosecuted. The entity that's gang stalking is doing so as a city effort. And this is where the entities engage in things that are speaking to blatant stalking, such as stalking from the Ontario International Airport at the Ontario Town Square. And then stalking by commercial airline planes at Hawthorne while I'm at 1352 North Euclid Avenue, which is up toward Upland, California, where there are also no takeoffs, and that is the entity engaging what is indeed relevant positioning in concert, again, with the Ontario Police Department, like you saw this morning, 12 o'clock in the morning, where that entity was engaging in this malicious conduct. And that's why that police department is being disbanded and identified and prosecuted as the terrorists that they are. No immunity and no protection under the law, and they're going to understand the significance of that when they are in federal court being prosecuted as terrorists, and not as police officers that have any sort of due process protections in those positions. They're being prosecuted as terrorists. This is P.O.C. It is currently 5:26 a.m. 9VOY185, sexual assault and battery, P.O.C. Stalking at the intersections with light activity, molesting, and using Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo is being prosecuted for it, P.O.C. All right, stalking at the intersection. This is at the next one. License plate 8 Nancy David Charlie 263, and this is downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments 9 Thomas Edward 929. P.O.C. This is at D Street and Euclid Avenue. Stalking, just like the entity is with airplanes. As I'm walking through the neighborhood, the people of the state are stalking at the intersections to commit sexual assault and battery. They're stalking while they're pacing up and down Euclid Avenue all around, engaging in surveillance as a city. This is the entity that committed criminal summoning last night, and they're being federally prosecuted for it. This is P.O.C. It's 5:36 a.m. Alrighty, this is the entity that is indeed engaged in sexual assault and battery as they're being documented. This is what the entity is doing at 1352 Hawthorne and Euclid Avenue. That's 1352 North Euclid Avenue, which is as I travel north up Euclid Avenue where there's no airports. This is now stalking on the north side of the downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments with the people of the state, doing so on the roads and the highways, and they are being federally prosecuted. This is what they committed with the Ontario Police Department with regard to what is criminal surveillance, threatening, psychological torture, and sexual assault and battery. The airport's being shut down, the police are being disbanded, and the people of the state are being federally prosecuted. They're engaging in what is a threat to your life while they're stalking you and monitoring you with the police, as they do regarding criminal summoning, and the people of the state are the defendant that are engaging in that criminal activity with the Ontario Police, and the people of the state are being federally prosecuted for that documented act at the Ontario Town Square, which occurred with the Ontario International Airport that was never flying on the north side of the downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments. They were flying right over me, where you saw them moments ago at the Mule Cart Smokehouse, the El Bacone, flying over that building, stalking me, doing so in this environment. Here's one shadow. Here's another shadow. Here's another shadow right here. Here's another shadow over here. This is the entity that's engaging in surveillance. They're doing the same thing, stalking as they go to the Arco, as they pace back and forth, knowing that it's closed. They're engaging in that at the Chevron, and they're engaging in what is psychotic behavior because the open sign is set. These are demons that are monitoring. And this is positioning regarding even venues for the gang stalking purposes of this population of the city that's been engaged in decades of criminal surveillance. The mentally ill that are the people of the state are being federally prosecuted. They're malicious psychopaths who commit murder and kidnapping with the government. And the people of the state committed criminal summoning with the Ontario Police Department in 3 vehicles and by helicopter while the entity was stalking me before they engaged in criminal summoning. There's no traffic stop, if you will. While the entity is stalking me at 1352 North Euclid Avenue in the exact same manner. When the entity engaged in that traffic stop, they're doing so committing sexual assault and battery using police lights. They're being federally prosecuted as the terrorists that they are. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, this is the exact criminal surveillance underway via federal RICO. License 7WKH 864. And the engineer light, remember my shadow spread across the asphalt, and the entity is stalking as the airport, following me up North Euclid Avenue. This is what they're doing at their homes as well, where they will be federally prosecuted as well. And these are the demons that the Ontario Police Department pull over to commit criminal summoning, for which the people of the state are being federally prosecuted. This is also the prosecution of ARCO. So they're surrounding and stalking in the path as a psychopath. That's engaging in what is a purchase. That's literally the federal RICO. And this is a demon as well. And this is the entity that is indeed is multiple shadows right here. And the entity is engaged in that gang stalking at gas stall number 7, gang stalking at gas stall number 1, and number 2. And the entity also surrounds by another demon that goes to Chevron. They're aware of the images that are captured. They're just aiming light. Okay, they make purchases as well, but their objective is creating activity. And the demon drives off of the Chevron property. Not that I even need them to. They're being federally prosecuted, and so is Chevron. The fake sun is over me at these venues. The businesses themselves are gang stalking with the government that is relying on the psychotic criminal conduct of the people of the state. This is P.O.C. And all you're doing is putting these demons, these stalkers, in Ontario police uniforms. They're being disbanded. They're going to prison. They're going to be subject to mental examinations. That's the airport that's stalking here. The reason why they're not flying north of me is because they remain on the south side of my person in the environment where they are stalking relevant to my location. There is no airport over here. The identification of a stalker. 7 Wendy Kelly Henry 864 in furtherance of murder and a vagina monitor. This is the P.O.C. They're targeting with the professional stalkers who are the Ontario Police Department. It is currently, by the way, 5:54 a.m. is being federally prosecuted. License 9BXF198, stalking on the roads and the highways. This is surveillance. All you're doing is making a purchase and buying gas when you're doing the exact same thing in the specific environment. While the entity doing so, even at this ARCO, like nothing is happening, while the demons are flying in circles over me at the ARCO, while they're engaging in a traffic stop, while the demons are flying in circles, including at this ARCO with the impossible light activity, they're being federally prosecuted as a population. This is terrorism, and the people of the state are being published all over the internet for you to refer to, for you to look them up, and you are able to protect yourselves and block and exclude these terrorists from any area of life where they don't maintain any constitutional right or privacy rights regarding stalking as an entity. This is P.O.C. This is all state action. This is all state action, and it's being published right now. This is P.O.C. where the airport is stalking, 5:55 a.m. And this is the federal RICO case against the people of this co. 434 North Euclid Avenue. The employee engaging in criminal activities, stalking in the pen, where you are engaging in what is the same exact criminal activity on behalf of the same police department, 5 Sam David Henry 514. And doing so while you are employed at the venue is the malicious engagement in that pattern of conduct. The light activity doesn't change, by the way, doesn't change. The stalking by the government doesn't change. The entities engaging in gang stalking upon making money, which the employees, as I've shown, all the employees are gang stalking the same as the gang stalkers who sit beside a gas stall engaging in the identical pattern of conduct with the government, okay? This is P.O.C. These are not private citizens, nor are companies like ARCO. They're not private companies. These are third parties, and their objective is to engage in surveillance. And they've also done the same thing while the entity is stalking by the Ontario Police Department. And that malice and that cold-blooded engagement, that cruel engagement in the pattern of conduct while you're making money is the basis of that federal RICO case and federal prison for any business and business employees, including those that are engaging in this as couriers, such as FedEx, UPS, Amazon Prime, United States Postal Service, which are serial stalkers engaging in this P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, 6:02 a.m. Coming to engage in it as an employee is the systematic and repeated means of that pattern of conduct, and the rules aren't changing. Okay? The rules are not changing, so that's the basis of federal prison, and that's exactly how the people of the state are going to be uniformly treated under federal law when you're looking at the malicious engagement and gang stalking terrorism in the United States. And if you're not a natural-born citizen, you will be subject to deportation, because that's exactly what's going to happen with the entire population. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:02 a.m. Alrighty, the ARCO employee is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring with the U.S. government. That is stalking via the Ontario International Airport. That is stalking at what is G Street and Euclid, as the people of the state are on Euclid Avenue and G Street. Okay, this is the entity that's progressing, stalking north as I walk north. They do the same thing, stalking going in the south direction as I go south. Recall all the documentation of me traveling on Euclid Avenue toward Economy Inn, where the entity kept the fake sun rising and setting, by the way, at Economy Inn. The entity committed kidnapping at Economy Inn, 2301 South Euclid Avenue. The entity engages in what is flying over my room through these commercial planes at Economy Inn, flying over me on the sidewalk while I'm outside of that property at Economy Inn. This is the entity that's at the 60 freeway. They're stalking, and they're going to be federally prosecuted while the airport is stalking and while the police department are stalking. That is serving to prosecute the people of the state who committed criminal summoning last night while they're monitoring my evidence of me publishing them engaging in serial stalking at Stater Brothers. And for that, they are subject to federal prison. This is a population engaging in that, and they are psychopaths that will stalk you in a grocery store. They will stalk you in the bathroom. They will stalk you at any venue, at the gas stations. They will engage in any means of what is tracking your steps before they commit murder, and they do so with the government that's stalking as well, using commercial planes, which is an illustration regarding the mental illness of the demon-possessed that are gang stalking. I also want you to pay attention. This is El Pescador. There are no parking lot lights on in here. Across the street, the entity has the lights on. This is where the entity last night, the lights were on. Yesterday morning, the lights were on. They engage in what is sexual assault and battery using the light activity as a means of monitoring. That's creating what is a legal character regarding the criminal activity that light is used for. And that is the documentation of El Pescador as a sex offender. This morning, they don't have the lights on. While you're looking at the rest of the property, it's still dark time. And the entity is engaged in what is utilizing the parking lot lights across the street, where they also engage in that same thing. Which is light activity creation for the gang stalking purposes of the government, stalking by plane and helicopter, and the people of the state. This is P.O.C. ARCO is engaged in gang stalking. Okay? This is what the entity is doing at the Ontario Town Square. This is what they were doing as I walk up toward the ARCO at 434 North Euclid Avenue. This is what the entity is doing while I am at the Hawthorne and Euclid Avenue intersection, where they are also stalking with the people of the state in the neighborhoods where they're being published on the internet, so that anyone can look up the domestic terrorists in California, and they have no protections from being excluded from any area of life, any business, any neighborhood, any government program, where you do not have to have a conversation with them in order to know that these are the demons that you do not want to be associated with. And that's one of the ways in which the P.O.C. is going to be used. And it's reference to the ongoing blatant stalking, which is what ARCO is engaging in. They're being federally prosecuted. This is P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, where the entity is following me up the street. This is what the Ontario Police Department recall. This is what they were doing at 12 o'clock in the morning. This is what they were actually doing, was stalking. And that's why that department's being disbanded. And those demons are going to federal prison, and they're going to be subject to mental examinations. It's 6:08 a.m. when they're engaging in what is cartwheels as I'm traveling north up Euclid Avenue, prosecuting the people of the state for me. That's the case against the people that have no privacy rights. They don't live on any private property. They're not engaging in any private activity whatsoever. They're stalking as an entity that is engaging in what is a system of murder and kidnapping in the state of California. And such terrorists are being published and exposed all over the internet for the protection of the American people and for the reference of those even outside of the U.S. The domestic terrorists that are inside of the United States. This is P.O.C. This is P.O.C. The entity is stalking by commercial planes. There you go. There's clearly no airports over here. The people of the state are being documented. You're recalling the entity stalking me by plane and helicopter at Hawthorne and Euclid Avenue. And the third party that's documented engaging in what is verbalizing threats, engaging in what is a method of trying to criminally defame while you are stalking and you are a sex offender obsessed with my vagina, while you are coming outside anticipating my arrival, which is proven through the stalking conduct of the government that's spending millions of dollars stalking me in commercial planes. That third party, which is stalking in the path and blocking the sidewalk, this is all intentional conduct while you're tracking my steps and stalking. This is the people of the state who are going to be federally prosecuted for criminal summoning, and they're engaging in what is harassment while they're being documented. And all of the entity that engaged in that method of harassment via the people of the state are also gang stalking, engaging in criminal summoning. These are, in other words, these are facts that are the formula for federal prison. This is P.O.C. CMAX is stalking. That's light activity on the roads and the highways. Just like the police department. They do so stalking you using those vehicles with regard to the ability to stalk you conspicuously as though they have authority under the law and they're engaged in law enforcement. That's called malice. That's P.O.C. These are the people of the state sharing in criminal surveillance while the people of the state are pacing along Euclid Avenue. Okay, 9TWU 050, I believe. 92WX-U50, substantially similar. It's the people of the state engaging what nothing other than U-turns, driving up and down the street, engaging what is knowledge of who I am and where I'm going, and also the fact that I'm documenting them. That's psychopathic pacing by a population, and that's what they're doing very heavily on El Morado and Lemon, while I'm documenting going up the street, and the entity has plane after plane after plane. This is the mental illness that is exposed, which is another basis for you to refer to the P.O.C., a database that will be exposing the domestic terrorists who are inside of the United States, while they are a mentally ill population, demon-possessed, violent sex offenders, stalkers who are monitoring you, monitoring even your genitalia, and you don't want any parts of that. You don't want them in your company. You don't want them in your neighborhood. You don't want them in any body of government where you have the full ability to look them up, what state they were in, and this is the entity that has no protection with regard to being exposed as domestic terrorists. This is the Ontario International Airport gang stalking. This is 1404 North Euclid Avenue. This is P.O.C. stalking. All right, anybody else is running right next to you, they know I have a camera and they're monitoring with the people of the state. These are psychopaths who are engaging in crossing paths by jogging in the same exact environment. Nothing changes about the facts. And they're pacing. That's the reality of what these cockroaches that are dressing themselves up as human beings who are demon-possessed, that are engaging in the pattern of conduct. License plate 6QA204. This entity committed criminal summoning with the Ontario Police that are being disbanded. This is P.O.C. Criminal summoning, 7 Kelly Mary Henry 193. And you'll see the fake sun in alignment to me, where the people of the state are stalking on the roads and the highways, molesting with impossible light. This is the criminal purpose. They're monitoring with engineered light. This is the purpose of the fake sun that is still here on this side of the road when I'm documenting coming from Upland, California. This is stalking. All right? It doesn't matter what your outfit is, what your uniform is. These are the demon-possessed gang stalking. And they go to great lengths to make sure that they are in the path to engage in methods of surveillance with the state. 09099 Paul 2. And the entity is engaging in this while the fake sun is here at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 6 in the evening. They're not doing anything but stalking, and nothing under the law is going to protect you because you're wearing a neon orange jacket and you're digging in the concrete, and the city has permitted it, the city that's engaged in surveillance. P.O.C. BRRYSLW. 7 EIC 662. 7 TFZ 982. Triangle Enterprises Incorporated is gang stalking. This is Al Vand, that's the owner, license EP1826, potentially similar. Genesis Metals, James Metals, Riverside Pressing. These are gang stalking businesses engaging in surveillance in Ontario, California, and they're doing so under the fake sun. Okay, this is engineered light. This is the significance of that psychopath. My shadow's appearing over here. That's my shadow. That's impossible light activity. It's appearing upon 8TKZ847. They're monitoring. And that's the fake sun. It is currently 7:03 a.m. The entity has the fake sun rising over me at the 537 North Euclid Avenue bus stop. Across the street from the Bethel Congregational Church, where the Ontario Police Department are stalking by helicopter, doing so while the people of the state are maintaining surveillance, stalking in that environment. Conspicuous surveillance is an unlawful threat. It's an act of terrorism by the government that is cloaking itself as a population that are exploiting the Constitution as being private citizens engaging in private activity, and they are not. That is the malicious engagement in the pattern of conduct, and this entity committed criminal summoning last night again, for which this entity shall be prosecuted, and those engaging in that are subject to federal prison. And there is a body of evidence of this population that's engaging in the criminal pattern of conduct and furtherance of murder, engaging in criminal summoning routinely with the gang stalking police departments such as Upland Police and the Ontario Police, for which they're going to federal prison. All right, this is P.O.C. It is currently 7:04 a.m. while the population facilitates ongoing gang violence by those that are bearing weapons and badges where they are engaging in what is criminal activity, maintaining a criminal enterprise, and doing so under the malicious guise of calling it law enforcement in the state of California. This is P.O.C. This is why Walmart is hosting the pattern of conduct, where I'm being gang stalked by the Ontario Police Department by helicopter, by the Upland Police Department by helicopter, by the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department by helicopter, and Walmart intentionally crossing path tracking steps. This is what's happening on the roads and the highway. Animosity is what you need to know about the fact that they hate you as well while they're monitoring you in the United States. Gang stalking on the roads and the highways, keeping your genitalia under surveillance, making $1 while they're doing so, violating you as human beings. And then as you enforce your rights, you're looking at the hostility that Walmart embodies while they're gang stalking on the roads and the highways under a fake sun. They are stalking with impossible light that's as targeted as the entity maintaining this environment at nightfall, and the vehicles over there are moving across this wall. That's absurd, mentally ill behavior while the population is stalking. 8YYK972, license 8 Yolanda Kelly 977. 29789 Kelly 3. Stalking on the roads and the highways where there are no car accidents. This is where the population commits murder. And they also have a whole industry where they profit off of it, such as insurance companies who are gang stalkers in California. This is P.O.C. They're monitoring and tracking. They're not having car accidents. They're murdering people. License plate 8 Mary Yolanda Apple 353. This is P.O.C. It's the same with San Bernardino County. They know they're going to prison. They engage in criminal defamation and they're going to prison. License 7 MWG 931 6S Mary Kelly 002. San Bernardino County is engaged in gang stalking, demons that are mentally ill, and the abuse of the behavioral health. San Bernardino County, which is a heavily documented gang stalker, are crossing paths just like San Antonio Regional Hospital and American Medical Response yesterday. The entities engaging in this with the City of Ontario together, who committed kidnapping, as you'll see, on June 16, 2022. You have the entity that is documented, and they're going to federal prison while they advertise their engagement in the pattern of conduct. License plate 9SAD205. This is stalking by millions of people, and that's the prosecution of an entity that committed, what I want to be clear, criminal summoning. And this is exposing terrorism in the United States, domestic terrorists that are inside of the United States. P.O.C. It is currently 7:06 a.m. This is the Nephilim. 7TQM016. Clearly, the Nephilim have no business whatsoever. It is totally inappropriate and a danger while they're in the medical field, in the legal profession, in law enforcement, and they are exploiting and abusing positions in order to engage in this criminal monitoring conduct. 7SVS093, where they are sacrificing American citizens unto Satan. These are demons. This is P.O.C. This is the pattern of conduct continuing from Ontario, California to Upland, California, seamlessly. And that's the prosecution of the U.S. government. That's the pattern of conduct. This is P.O.C. This is the entity in surveillance in California. This is the inhumane sex offense of vagina monitoring while a population keeps your genitalia under surveillance. P.O.C. Alrighty, I want you to see the terrorist that committed murder in Kentucky, stalking at the 10 freeway with the people of the state that are under the fake sun, because that's what that plane is. Again, deviating far from the airport, coming all the way north up Euclid Avenue. There's no airport over here, and there are no flights from the airport where they're hovering perpetually through the state, perpetually through the city, and they're not even going west. They're necessarily migrating more and more north and then flying west. That's UPS. UPS committed what is murder, you need to understand. The entity, there's only one sun, and in that evidence of that murder that the UPS committed, the United States government committed, that company, the people of the state committed, it's occurring in what is the sunset. I'm documenting the sunset and the sunrise on this one street, Euclid Avenue. RSIESJS, they share in that murder that UPS committed as well. Okay? The people of the state are engaged in that pattern of conduct while you're looking at that fake sunset, while UPS is crashing into a building. UPS that is gang stalking me in Upland, California, by the Ontario International Airport. That's the prosecution of the U.S. government. 7KDB559, sexual assault and battery. 8ALW898, sexual assault and battery. DOK, HART, SOL, sexual assault and battery. Sex offenders driving school buses, you already know that. You've seen them engaging in what is molestation with a possible light. They're demons. License 1517349, and the gang stalking school district is Chaffee Joint Union High School. Sexual assault and battery, 418-36D2. And the entities engaged in sexual assault and battery while the demons are hostile, while I document, and you know what's happening? Because they're being discerned. This is spiritual warfare, but there is no war here. The demons have already lost. So now you are aware of, the veil has been removed regarding the terrorists who are demon-possessed in the United States. They give birth to children who are demons. They're gang stalking as communities in furtherance of murdering you. Just like UPS did. UPS that is gang stalking at the 10 freeway. Remember this, because these are businesses that are going out, they no longer exist. They're no longer going to exist. P.O.C. It is currently 7:10 a.m. All of the people of the state are stalking with UPS. That's coming all the way up to Upland, California to follow me around in a commercial plane. That's the disbanding of the Ontario Police Department. P.O.C. All right, vagina monitoring at the law office of Mark Grossman. This is pacing in front of the doors where the fake sun is located. This is a sex offender. That's not coincidentally, but what you need to know about the terrorists that are calling themselves legal professionals like Mark Grossman at the venue where it's heavily documented. 9 Henry Xavier Yolanda 330. This is a vagina monitoring in relevant position, tracking my steps, doing so with the city of Upland. That is stalking under the fake sun. The same fake sun that's over me on this same street when I'm leaving the Upland Public Library in the evening along the same street. Mark Grossman himself, one that's engaging in the pattern of conduct in use of a California bar license, is going to be federally prosecuted, not only for specifically targeting me and engaging in criminal defamation, one that is unfit to be in the practice of law, engaging in domestic terrorism, but also because it's occurring on the venue where he is, his name is literally on the venue. This is the city of Upland gang stalking at a law office. That's the P.O.C. All right, the use of the devices is Title 18 federal stalking. And they're all engaged in vagina monitoring. This is the stalker. They're tracking steps, staying in the path. while the fake sun is doing the same things. 9 Wendy Mary Zebra 069. This is Mark Grossman, the office of Mark Grossman. That's a gang stalker. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, this is the entity that's engaged in bathroom monitoring at IHOP. It is currently, by the way, 7:33 a.m. This is the entity that is stalking. I just want to show you. This is the pattern of conduct. This is all you're doing is environment. This is light that's just appearing out of nowhere, off of nothing. It's behind a structure. It's while the fake sun's remaining on Euclid Avenue in Ontario, California, not leaving from the bus stop until after 12 o'clock in the afternoon is what my evidence shows, but I'm in Upland, now off of Euclid Avenue, going down, and this is light that's just manifesting out of nowhere. This is the fake sun over here. All right, the sun's not inside of the building. The sun's not emanating through the solid structures. You have what is stalking with light, while Mark Grossman, through those that are affiliated, employed at that venue, entering inside of that venue, gang stalking, vagina monitoring, and doing so, are engaging in what are vocalizing threats while they're engaged in the pattern of conduct. This is domestic terrorism in this specific environment. Okay, this is the entity that's engaging in that, and this is the form. This is the illusion. This is the mental illness, the evidence of severe instability. Mark Grossman, the law offices of Mark Grossman are identified, being documented, exposed as terrorists. This is engagement in domestic terrorism in the U.S., doing so while also being in possession of a California bar license, which has been abused for gang stalking purposes, doing so with the city of Upland, where there is no iteration of a natural environment that includes this. All right, so the hostile vagina monitors are engaging. Oh, did you see that? This is while they're monitoring. This is the entity that's engaged in this. They do that against the ordinary target individual that doesn't have evidence. So now as you engage in it, now as you're stalking, the entity's engaging in that pattern of conduct in the face of evidence with which they will be committed. This is with a significant inner light that's appearing out of nowhere because stalkers surround. Okay, that's the significance of the magic tricks with impossible light activity because stalkers surround. That's the P.O.C. That's the pattern of conduct underway, and this is occurring while the entity is maintaining this environment which defies nature. Everything coming out of the mouth of demons that are gang stalking in Upland, California is serving for prosecuting the terrorist leader himself, Marcelo Blanco. Okay, this is the entity that's engaged in that, and because they are engaged in the pattern of conduct, like the gang stalking by helicopter shows as a matter of evidence, while the entities engaging in surveillance, that's the significance of light that just appears out of nowhere because they're monitoring. And they are demons who are monitoring. And they call themselves Mark Grossman, an attorney at law. That's a demon that's unfit to practice law. Engaging what is targeting me on the record years ago. And this is, again, the culmination of the pattern of conduct that's underway in Upland, California. This is speaking to terrorists that are unfit to be in law enforcement, the legal profession, the medical profession, to be around the public in general while you're engaging in surveillance and furtherance of murdering someone, keeping their genitalia under surveillance, and then engaging what is acting as though you are appalled, you're insulted, you're surprised while you're being documented for that which the entity never anticipated and clearly never planned on being exposed. There is no other explanation for the fake sun to be over me at the Upland Public Library, which is right on the opposite side of the 7-Eleven. After 5 p.m. All right, and then you're going to recall my documentation, the record regarding harassment, audible activity, which is a threat by the entity that is speaking to you. That's the government that's threatening and harassing and insulting you and raising their voice while the government is stalking you. This is going to be met with prison. Terrorists that are unhinged, that are maniacal, that are hostile and aggressive, while they are the terrorists, are going to be locked down, period. It is currently 7:38 a.m. This is harassment, as I'm referring to it, in that specific environment, which is also at the law offices of Mark Grossman. This is P.O.C. All right, this is criminal summoning committed by the people of the state of Upland, California. The city of Upland is gang stalking under the fake sun, which you can see captured for your viewing pleasure. The Upland Public Library, where I'm located, Upon my exit yesterday at 6 p.m. and as I'm arriving this morning at 7 a.m., the fake sun is in perfect alignment with me. That is speaking to the duration of time that defies nature. This is where a population is engaged in surveillance. Surveillance is pursuant to what is ceaseless stalking. Stalking that is occurring in this environment which defies nature. It is in fact demonic, and these are behaviors that are conducive to maintaining surveillance, and this is demonic activity. This is underway seamlessly and ceaselessly, as my documentation also shows, from the city of Ontario to the city of Upland. Speaking to the pattern of conduct that is underway by the state of California, the U.S. government's criminal pattern of conduct of gang stalking, properly referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring, which is demons that are monitoring you. And while the demons are in the government and the demons are the people of the state, the population, the civilian population, they are monitoring while stalking. That is indiscriminate with regard to any and every location. They are stalking you maliciously where you live, where they live, as they travel, as they conduct business, and as the entity is engaging in with which is the use of sirens and lights. This is AMR, which is American Medical Response, a domestic terrorist that's engaging in the pattern of conduct with the people of the state. And this is a criminal summoning that the entity utilizes to engage in massive monitoring conduct. It's psychological torture. It is harassment by an entity. It is sexual assault and battery by an entity that is molesting you with light while amplifying audible activity and pacing all around you, as the demons are doing, that are targeting you before they murder you. The entity is engaging in this with the Ontario Police Department that's engaged in criminal summoning last night. Criminal summoning is committed with the population. The people of the state are being federally prosecuted for engaging in criminal summoning, enabling a terrorist organization such as the Upland Police Department, the city of Upland itself, the Ontario Police Department, to engage in stalking in a conspicuous manner. The government cannot do it without the people of the state. As I document the entity that's heavily documented engaged in criminal summonings, for example, in Ontario, California, that entity is subject to federal prison. This is why I document the license plate, the badge number. I document the entity, not just the one that appears on the surface to be engaged in what is under the Constitution, which the entity is exploiting a detention. They're being detained pursuant to some sort of authority that is exercised by the agency that is on its face appearing to and wanting to maliciously appear as though they're engaging in the execution of the duties of officers, and they are not. It's occurring under the fake sun. It's occurring in the engineered light. It's occurring in concert and via the people of the state, who are shown to be doing nothing other than criminal monitoring in things such as the fake sun and the fake moon, and the absurdity of that engineered light. As I'm showing you, it's just appearing out of nowhere, manifesting out of nowhere, and it's present at nightfall as well, where this criminal pattern of conduct is underway. This is what Upland is engaging in while I'm at the Upland Public Library under the fake sun. And that image where you can see the screenshot of the fake sun in the evening upon my exit, and the fake sun in the morning upon my arrival today. I arrived at 7:45 a.m. at the front entrance, that is. Okay. And the fake sun is also, as you're looking at it, as I'm walking on one particular street, the fake sun is moving in the direction north in alignment to me at the speed that I go. So if I remain at the 10 freeway, that's where that fake sun would have remained, which my evidence shows. As I pass that same 10 freeway at 2 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon, as I pass that 10 freeway in the evening, as I am at that 10 freeway at nightfall, that's where the entity is stalking by commercial planes, helicopters, and the people of the state with impossible light activity. This is indeed criminal summoning by the city of Upland. The people of the state are being prosecuted and exposed internationally as the terrorists that they are, as the United States of America is shown to be engaging in terrorism while residing within the United States, engaging in domestic terrorism. And this is informing the rest of the world regarding the terrorists that are inside of the U.S. And it's also for the use of American citizens throughout this country, because the entity that's engaging in this criminal pattern of conduct is perfectly capable of being excluded by you under any and all circumstances. They maintain no constitutional protections with regard to being excluded as a documented terrorist. And that is literally by virtue of wherever the pattern of conduct is underway, someone from that state, you have every right to exclude them, and you don't have to talk to them about it. That's the use of the P.O.C. with regard to the entity that is engaging in terrorism in the U.S. and doing so as a corrupt enterprise, like what I'm showing the cities are engaging in, the counties are engaging in, the state at a micro level is engaging in, and those terrorists, which you also know are demons, that you maintain the ability to exclude in any and every regard while you know who they are. And you can exclude them and block them. This is P.O.C. In addition to that, they're going to be federally prosecuted, but this is the ability for even down to the individuals throughout this country. You don't want Satan in your neighborhood. You don't want Satan in your company. You don't want Satan in engagement in any sort of program where they're benefiting in any sort of way. You are able to use the database that is the P.O.C. that will be provided to the public, where you can research those and look them up wherever it is that they came from, where Satan doesn't want to tell you that they were residing in California. That's a prosecuted terrorist, and you can exclude them. They are the demon possessed, and they are a threat to the public, engaging in what is a system of psychological torture. The demon possessed that want to cloak themselves as law-abiding citizens. They're engaging in this pattern of conduct while being in professions such as law enforcement, the legal profession, the medical profession. And they're engaging in what are cruel means of targeting people in order to murder them and sexually violating them before they do so. That is what is filling the state of California. That's what's engaging what is sounding sirens. That's what's engaged in the mentally ill behavior. A population that is mentally ill, and it serves to protect you and whatever it is that you are interested in, to exclude those who are mentally ill and they are walking around undiagnosed. The diagnosis is the documentation of the P.O.C., the prosecution of that public entity. Alrighty, it is currently 8:13 a.m. This is criminal summoning in the city of Upland, and I will go ahead and quote to you what are the timestamps regarding the images of the fake sun at the Upland Public Library, where the entity is again overusing criminal summoning. This is all they're doing. It's psychopathic pacing, demons that are engaging in what is the pattern of conduct as a population. And that's relevant to what you are looking at on the internet, the license plates, the addresses, the companies that are sharing in this criminal pattern of conduct. The fake sun, where you're listening to the entity repeating criminal summoning over and over again. Stalking by those that are unfit to be in firefighting, because firefighting, they're actually engaging in surveillance. They're unfit to be in law enforcement because law enforcement is actually engaged in criminal surveillance. The entity that's engaging in that with a population that's engaged in nothing private whatsoever, and they have no constitutional right to do so, they're engaged in surveillance. The fake sun is over me, where you're literally hearing criminal summoning repeated over and over again. These are the mentally ill that are just pacing and maintaining noise under the fake sun. The fake sun is over me at this same Upland Public Library yesterday evening at 6:53 p.m. And you're looking at it as I capture screenshot at the same location at 7:45 a.m. This is where you're hearing what is the federal offense of criminal summoning committed by the city of Upland over and over again. And this is removal of Bill Velto and the entire Upland City Council. With regard to what is domestic terrorism that's underway in any city, where that corrupt government body shall be removed as a matter of law, and where they're engaging in what is kidnapping and ongoing criminal activity like the city of Ontario and the city of Upland, that's a federal prosecution, not merely removal from office. Okay? Now, I do want to be clear. Let me go ahead and point something out. Do not get lost, because what I'm pointing out with regard to prosecution versus removal from office, the reality is that the entire entity is engaged in kidnapping while you're in any city subject to that kidnapping. However, you will prosecute those that are engaging in it on behalf of that entity, because you cannot put all 8 million, however many people in the state of California, in federal prison. That's impracticable. Okay. The entities engaging in that and those that are engaging in that on behalf of the entity, they're subject to federal prison. They will be federally prosecuted. But do not be mistaken. Okay. The mayor in San Marcos, the mayor in Sacramento, in Oakland, California, Karen Bass in Los Angeles, California, they are all sharing in the same pattern of conduct, and they commit kidnapping as an entity. The entire state of California is engaged in criminal monitoring. And where you're hosting that, engaging in that federal offense on behalf of the entity, be prepared to be federally prosecuted and be prepared to go to prison like any other foreign terrorist. This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:16 a.m. Alrighty, this is getting the Ontario International Airport. That is gang stalking. The entity is engaging in this as I'm capturing UPS this morning, the 10 freeway, okay, in the city of Upland at the 10 freeway. The Ontario International Airport is proven and has admittedly engaged in what is stalking, and doing so in the specific environment. The fake sun is not setting in Ontario. It's not setting through the doors of the Ovid Family Community Library. It's not remaining on what is Euclid Avenue at what is F Street at the Bethel Congregation, where Southwest Airlines is gang stalking me and flying over the top of my head while that fake sun is in alignment along Euclid in Ontario. It's setting in alignment to me at the 10 freeway, where this is showing you what are the Nephilim, the demon possessed, that are engaging in what you are recognizing as surveillance. And the Ontario International Airport that is conspiring murder of an American citizen that has prosecuted it and has proven it, and it has shown how unstable they are, how much of a threat that they are, while they murder both the people of the state and innocent American citizens that don't know that surveillance is underway. And that's why the Ontario International Airport is being shut down. UPS is gang stalking while I'm referring to them this morning. I'm going to prosecute this company, license 73491 Edward 3. They are terrorists. They're engaged in the pattern of conduct with multiple gang stalking police departments, and they're doing so now. It is currently 6:58 p.m. This is heading in Upland, California. This is sexual assault and battery by the state of California. While I'm betwixt two cities, I'm at the U.S. highway, and the entity is engaging in the P.O.C. This is the prosecution of the U.S. government. The entity is going to shut down the Ontario International Airport. All right, it's already built in. Ontario police are not. These are stalkers that know they're going to prison. They are suicidal people, and they're engaged in criminal activity, and the whole world is watching it. So this is understanding the purpose of the P.O.C. for anyone around the world to refer to the P.O.C. and look up the domestic terrorists that are inside of the United States, especially if they intend to travel somewhere or move somewhere or change jobs, which they will not be able to do based on criminal conviction. But also, you have the ability to look up the terrorists and block them in any way that you find necessary. They don't maintain any constitutional rights nor privacy. This is P.O.C. It is currently 6:59 p.m. I just want to show you, it's a far cry from the same Ontario International Airport flying over me at the 10 freeway. All right, and also flying over, doing cartwheels, rather. They're flying over where the entity is stalking at the chiropractic office. That chiropractic office is a gang stalker as well. This is stalking in the path of light, and it's mentally ill behavior. This is stalking in the path of light. It's mentally ill behavior. They're all pacing around like cockroaches. That's actually what's happening in the street as well, pacing around like cockroaches. And they're all listening to me. And this population also keeps my vagina under surveillance. This is where the entity is stalking under the fake sun that is setting in Upland, California today. And then they're engaging while I'm in Ontario, where the entity kept the fake sun in an adjacent city. The entity is engaged in what is stalking, as you identified in that environment, amongst demons that commit murder of American citizens. And they do it in the guise of companies like UPS. This is the entity that is far from what is the 10 freeway, where the city of Ontario is stalking me with the city of Upland. That's how that's legally analyzed. And this is the airport that is being shut down. And this is the evidence of severe mental instability, which is necessitating, mandating that that airport be shut down. This is blatant stalking by an airport. Unprecedented criminal activity, which the city police are inevitably engaged in. Moreover, I have the city police stalking me with this airport for years. This is P.O.C. It is currently 7:32 p.m. All right, this is Steve's Towing that's engaged in surveillance with the Ontario International Airport, stalking and furtherance of murder, both that business and the demon operating that commercial vehicle. While the entity goes out of its way, as I end that video, seconds later, meaning they're maintaining a line of planes, meaning there's already another stalker in another commercial plane to engage in second-by-second stalking, doing cartwheels over the defendant, Sarah's Regis Group, and flying over the parking lot, and doing so even louder. And the threats are noted. That's why L&D WAPNER is going to be federally prosecuted, and the gang stalkers that are going to report their identities, stalking in planes, the evidence to have them committed while they're conspiring the murder.
P.O.C. entity that is suffering from psychopathic and antisocial disorders is gang stalking. That entity is demon possessed. That's sexual assault and battery by license 7XKS528. This is P.O.C. and this is indeed sexual assault and battery. My shadow's back here and my shadow is here. This is psychopathic pacing and the entity is engaged in psychopathic pacing with commercial planes. Far cry from being at the 10 freeway where there is no business, no planes are hovering. You should have already taken made your takeoff, right? It's the same thing with being over here, but they went all the way up to Upland. That's how important I am, and that's how also mentally ill they all are. That's the mentally ill engaging in that, and this is the entity that has handed me over everything. They're losing their whatever money they think they have, whatever property they think they own, whatever they thought they got away with stealing from me, however they thought that they damaged me. It's actually this entity that has sacrificed itself as you're looking at what is raw, unadulterated mental illness that is stalking me. Okay, and there's also going to be a penalty for that, criminally and civilly. This is P.O.C. It's currently 7:35 p.m. at Sarah's Regis Group, downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments. Steve's towing gang stalking with light, in furtherance of murder. Okay, psychological torture. United Chiropractic Health Center. That's another business that will not be able to afford the damages, and they will not be able to reconcile with regard to the criminal activity of both that business and that third party. P.O.C. Sexual assault and battery license plate 7HIG406. That's an unlawful touching of a sexual nature while stalking me and furtherance of murder with the obvious stalker, the city of Ontario. This is what is so unfortunate about being so severely corrupt and also maniacal. Because that evidence that's readily available is going to be used against you, and you have been convicted literally through this evidence that's on the internet. But this is P.O.C. This is, again, Open Family Community Library. The 280 North Limit Apartments, the Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments, the Ontario Town Square, where there was no sun whatsoever. And how are we doing that? How do we know that? Because the fake sun is what is over me, and there's no possible way, which is why I also document, that there's a sun over the Ontario Town Square next to the clock, that there's a sun at the Open Family Community Library over the entrance, when I'm showing you that fake sun beaming through the roof of the Upland Public Library. And it didn't go anywhere. So at no point in the day did Ontario have a sun, because there is only one. And this is also the relevant evidence regarding the mentally ill who are obsessively stalking, creating what is a banner for their mental illness, and their mental illness is going to be addressed, diagnosed, and treated against their will as well. It's a matter of national security. P.O.C. It is currently 7:39 p.m. Alrighty, this is the Ontario International Airport, and they are stalking at 9:59 p.m. in concert with this demon that's hitting the glass, stalking in the path with light activity, and doing so while being inside of the same Open Family Community Library. Demons don't have a race, they don't have a particular trade, and this is gang stalking by the same city of Ontario. Those light stalkers, those vagina monitors, and doing so in the same path, in the same environment. This demon is gang stalking me while cleaning inside, pacing using the vacuum while the entity is using that as a method of presence and noise while the entity is stalking in the same manner. I just want to be clear. These are the vagina monitors. These are the demons that lust over my bodily fluids, that sit around worshiping my fecal matter, that sit around engaging what is worshiping everything about me and stealing everything that I have, including the most minor objects such as my gloves, sitting around worshiping my items. This is why they're obsessively stalking. This is why they're obsessively stalking. These are the demons that are worshiping what it is that I excrete into the toilet. That's how psychotic they are. And it's proven through this stalking conduct. This is relevant to the mentally ill like Jason Fields, to the mentally ill like Tracy Banks, who sit around praying to demons about my bodily fluids, who sit around salivating over my fecal matter. This is an entity that is entirely mentally ill and stealing every little thing I have, worshiping me and stalking me, keeping my vagina under surveillance. This is not going to cause me to call anybody like a rapist such as Jason Fields, having sex with my aged mother, engaging in what is group gay sex while you're still married, stealing my property so I'm cold outside and I can't put my gloves on, and that's going to be the remedy to make me call you while I'm being gang stalked and you're sitting around watching, holding on to property that this entity has stolen while they're still gang stalking obsessively. And there is no mystery about that. This is an entity that's engaged in that, obsessing over my bodily fluid, obsessing over my fecal matter, fucking me in psychotic methods, such as under a fake moon and a fake sun. That's what's salivating over my vagina. Sex offenders stealing my property, stealing my gloves that I'm wearing to stay warm, stealing from a homeless woman. Jason Fields is not a man. He's a grown-up little boy that married my aged fake mother. And they both sit around gang stalking me, obsessing over me, and obsessing over what it is that I literally put into toilets. They're sex offenders, they're perverts, they're psychopaths. And they're also humiliated, trying to edit what I put on social media, telling the truth about how sick they are. They will never be in my presence. They have blocked themselves because they are so absurdly psychotic. And they share that mental illness with the population of demons that are stalking me at 10 o'clock at night. Can't even clean and do their job without stalking me. Going out of their way, spending millions of dollars in commercial planes and helicopters stalking me. Stealing my something as petty as my gloves because you want to sniff it and hump on it like a horny dog. Excuse my language, but that's how pathetic and that's how sick these demons are. No, Jason Fields will never be anywhere near me. He married a 60-some-odd-year-old woman with all manner of wrinkles, cellulite, and severe mental instability that he shares in. And they're sitting around stealing my property while I'm sleeping outside, and they're stalking me in planes and helicopters. And I am the one that they all together defamed. This entity has no permission whatsoever. Jason Fields come near me, he's going to be federally prosecuted for it. Stealing my property, I will never call you on the phone. I will never permit you in my presence. You are not going where I'm going. You will never be a friend. You're a thief, a stalking thief, and a mentally ill one. I want to document that this is the entity stealing from me. And my current status as a transient, they're stealing from a homeless woman whose bodily fluids they all sit around worshiping and praying to Satan over it while they're obsessively stalking me. That's the mentally ill population stalking me under a fake sun and a fake moon. That's speaking to the mentally ill that are stalking in psychotic means such as planes and stealing my property while doing so. Stealing my property while doing so. This is how pathetic they are. No, Jason Isaac Fields is not coming anywhere near me. You diviners that are listening to Satan, you're putting out messages regarding lies. Jason Isaac Fields is no friend or ally of mine. He is the husband of Tracy Banks, a lying thief and a stalker, severely mentally ill, and there will never be any reconciliation nor even communication about it. I want to make sure that that's abundantly clear because I'm still being gang stalked. And Jason Isaac Fields is totally irrelevant regarding what it belongs to me and what that demon has no business having any even access to. And I will prosecute for that, for stealing things as petty as my gloves while you sit around worshiping me and worshiping fecal matter. It's pathetic and it's sick. That's exactly why you're not going. This is P.O.C. You need to seek medical attention. And you're going to get it, including against your will, when you're locked up in prison. This is P.O.C. It's currently 10:04 p.m. All right, I want to show you this, not because it's not already proven, but this is the analysis that I'm giving you regarding showing how they are stalking with regard to minute movement, where I'm located. What they did right now, because I'm recording, they made a cartwheel, so they're flying straight in my path, and that's the pattern that you'll pay attention to. Where I'm located, the entity is stalking at the 10 freeway, engaging what is making, while I'm at Hawthorne and Euclid Avenue, engaging in making those cartwheels over the housing community. This is where the entity is stalking, flying, and they're doing cartwheels over a senior citizen complex right now. And it is 10:45 at night where the people are stalking with the airport. That's engaging in what is, remember, when I'm at the Ontario Town Square, this is the entity that flies west. They fly diagonally. They come miles from the airport, and then they fly west in a line, hovering where I'm located. The entity is engaging in what is hovering over the Wells Fargo. The entity is engaging in what is hovering over the downtown Ontario luxury apartments, engaging in a cartwheel, engaging in what is flying in the parking lot of that Arco gas station. Remember, the entity is stalking while they are flying over the property of the Ontario Town Square when I'm standing by the clock. But when I'm at the opposite side of the town square, remember, they're flying over that building where the Ontario police were stalking last night with these demons who are stalking still the people of the state under the fake moon with the Ontario police that are stalking by helicopter right now. Okay? That's the entity that's engaged in that. This is what they were doing when the people of the state engaged in criminal summoning. The Ontario police are already handled. They're not engaged in policing. They're openly stalking. So are the people of the state. That's a demon stalking with light with the police. They're sharing and conspiring. They're monitoring together. This is the entity conspiring murder together as well. I documented plenty of the people of the state today throughout Upland and Ontario, California. Every single last one of them are catching federal cases. Every single last one. This is what the entity is doing when they are flying over the El Bacon on the opposite side of this clock. This is where the airport is stalking me. And the Ontario police have been engaged in this. I'm just ignoring them because that's how irrelevant and desperate they are. They're begging me for attention. They are monitoring what I'm uploading on the internet, and so are the people of the state. I walk through this parking lot all the time, and I document these stalkers because they're monitoring in the path, and they engage in molesting me from this distance at the Ontario Town Square. This is psychotic. The people are stalking with the police department and with the airports, and I document the license plates by the hundred. Senior citizen complex that they're flying over. The people of the state that are senior citizens are not only gang stalking, they're violating zoning rules. It's a public nuisance. They're doing it at 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock in the morning, while they're stalking me. And you know that because the fake moon is over my head. Remember, it's over there. And this is where the airport is stalking, moving where I'm moving. That's what I was showing you this morning. 12 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning. They're not flying over this building. They're flying over the end of the property where I'm located. And they have vagina monitors in the middle of the night stalking me. The Ontario police are being disbanded. They've been engaged in psychotic behavior together, stalking me with light over here, monitoring my device, while the Ontario police is flying in circles over and over again. This is a federal case right here. License plate 6ARK600. That's a homosexual predator, a vagina monitor of the female gender. She's a demon, and she's a co-conspirator of murder. I'm going to federally prosecute her. She is making up the entity of demons that are monitoring throughout the entire city of Ontario. And that's what's gang stalking in Upland, California as well. Doing so while the Ontario police and the Ontario International Airport are flying over senior citizen complexes like this. But remember when they're targeting me and stating because I'm over here silent on one night and the entity is brought to their attention, they're coming over engaging in criminal summoning while I'm on my phone documenting, they're not disturbed by the helicopters and the planes that have no zoning provision to be flying over this venue, hovering like they are, but they're engaged in what is criminal summoning in order to gang stalk me with guns on their waist and badges on their chest while they're stalking. That's the entity that's being disbanded. That's the airport that's being shut down. And they're monitoring my device, all my videos that I'm going to publish. This is the entity that's doing so while they are stealing my property, worshiping my fecal matter, praying to Satan over my bodily fluids, and engaging in what is ongoing stalking at the same time. Those are the mentally ill that engage in gang stalking. This is P.O.C. It is currently 10:49 p.m. That's what I want to show you. And the entity is flying over the Ontario City Hall while the entity UPS, Southwest Airlines, are stalking all the way up at the 10 freeway. This is stalking by the population, stalking by the police, stalking by the fire department, stalking by the city of Ontario. And Paul Leon is being federally prosecuted. He is not staying in office. This is his federal prosecution. And I've executed it on the internet. He's going to be federally prosecuted, and it's going to result in federal prison. This is P.O.C.
All right, this is Ontario Police that's engaged in conspicuous surveillance just like the people of the state at Wells Fargo. This is stalking with light in the path, and they're engaged in psychopathic pacing. And as I walk from the Ovid Family Community Library, just to be clear regarding identifying stalking, stalking is identified in the environment. And this is the entity that is keeping that fake moon as I move, okay? That fake moon of Family Community Library back there. And as I've gone past the library now, I'm on the square, and the fake moon is progressing as I progress. This is know that the Ontario police are stalkers. This is my ongoing catalog of evidence because they're being disbanded. The entity's been maintaining stalking helicopter activity while they're sitting around in police vehicles, criminally monitoring, using police vehicles to engage in criminal activity, using police vehicles, engaging in criminal surveillance, and doing so with the people of the state. This is stalking, light activity, relevant positioning, and ongoing audible activity. They're obsessed with my vagina. They engage in criminal monitoring, just like in the city of Upland where I'm showing you, where there was no sun in Ontario, based on comparing what the entity did in Upland and what could not be happening in the natural environment in Ontario. This is the demon flying over the top of my head. These demons are being disbanded. This is the foolishness. This is the stupidity. This is the suicidal conduct. This is the admission to targeting. All right? They don't do the law. Craig Hazelwood is going to federal prison, and Owens are going to federal prison for gang stalking. And they refer to the municipal code. That's a malicious guise of stalking me with a gun on your waist and handcuffs to commit kidnapping while you're engaging in this stalking system. And those and many others are going to federal prison. This is criminal surveillance and furtherance of murder. and this is committed with the city of Ontario, a population, they're going to be federally prosecuted as terrorists. Now, what they're doing when they turn on their police lights is called criminal summoning. And they're going to federal prison for that, and so are the people of the state. This is mentally ill behavior. This is exactly what the people of the state were doing over here. That homosexual predator, that vagina monitor, driving that white SUV, was stalking on behalf of the Ontario police while that psychopath was flying in circles over the school. I was over there and the fake moon was over there. That's exactly what the demons are doing. It's the same pattern of conduct. They're going to prison, every single last one of them. Every single last one of them. These are terrorists. They have no immunity under the law. They are going to be prosecuted as terrorists. They will not be under the law treated as police officers. The pattern of conduct is established. Presumption of public corruption. You are stripped of those positions. Those positions, they're protected under the law. They don't have any protection. They're going to be federally. This is blatant stalking. I'm capturing it every single day. Every single day. This is the P.O.C. and that's the entity that is serving to prosecute the people of the state. The people of the state are being prosecuted and they are being exposed as terrorists that they are. They're being federally prosecuted. They're going to federal prison right along with the gang members, the thugs of the Ontario Police Department. They're going to prison together. Okay? They are both going to be federally prosecuted. The people and the state acting gang stalking together. This is terrorism. And it is currently 11:46 where a gang stalking police department is following me around, keeping me under surveillance while I'm at the Ovid Family Community Library. And this is a wearing demon, a psychopath that is flying in circles in the middle of the night. There is no traffic stop. There is no emergency. This is stalking. This is blatant stalking. This is the pattern of conduct they're going to be committed. Understand, the prosecution of the Ontario Police Department and any and every police department based on their pattern of conduct will include what is the ongoing diagnosis of the demented mind state. They will be subject to mental examinations, not just a federal prosecution for criminal activity in furtherance of my murder, for which there is no controversy. This is the level of stalking that they're engaging in. The Ontario police are using police vehicles. This is the prosecution of Paul Leon. He's being federally prosecuted. They're doing this also for profit. And they thought that gang stalking me was going to help them with regard to what is already criminal and improper procedurally in gang stalking courthouses, where there is nothing that you're going to do, including gang stalking me, that's going to help override what is defamation, lies that you told while you sought to steal money from me, perjure yourself in court regarding lies of this department that's been gang stalking me for years. This is the whole reason why this is not a strategy, and it's not going to result in wealth for Tracy Banks and Eric Spitzer. These demons are going to prison. And they actually utilized gang stalking because they thought that this was going to result in successfully stealing my money, my inheritance, my property. It is not. It is the ongoing evidence as to why they lied on my character, why they've been kidnapping me and targeting me for years, why they've been engaged in putting things like insurance policies on my head, while they're engaging in what is this criminal pattern of conduct with the people of the state who are clearly targeting as well. It's evidence of motive. They're going to prison for terrorism. It's an elaborate system, a government system, where psychopaths are engaging in this conduct with the government. And they're demons. That's the supernatural pattern of conduct that they're engaging in. And demons are going to prison in California. A whole lot of them. I'm going to gut out the Ontario Police Department. They're being disbanded. They want to keep my vagina under surveillance. That's going to go on what is the roster regarding their mental examinations. Their ongoing fixation with my vagina. This is P.O.C. It is currently 11:49 p.m. at the Ontario Town Square where the fake moon is moving as I move. P.O.C. I just want to show you the Ontario Police flying in circles over the top of my head. And these are cowards that begin flying off. Allied Universal is over here gang stalking. All right, Allied Universal, that the terrorist leader, his name is Steve. Owning a company that's engaging in what is gang stalking me. Again, this is what they were doing last night as well. Doing so while the Ontario police follow. Remember, I'm over there. Ontario police are stalking at the Wells Fargo Drive ATM. And the entity is keeping that fake moon over me. It's later. So let's see where that fake moon went. While the Ontario police are flying in circles and they're flying over the top of my head. These are cowards. The moment that I start recording, they're still stalking. The moment that I start recording, they stop flying over the top of my head. I just want to be clear. Jason Isaac Fields is no investigator. Jason Isaac Fields is no friend. He has no stake in any of my property, any of my creations, any of my ideas, none of my money, none of my real property, none of my personal property. This is somebody that thinks, again, with Tracy Banks, has plotted and conspired and is still gang stalking me with the Ontario Police Department and third parties like Allied Universal, who know who I am. This is state surveillance. Jason Fields and Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer, for example, all of those demons engaging in having sex with each other. They're mentally ill and they're stalking me together, and they are not getting a dime. They're going to federal prison. The Ontario Police Department is stalking me because of Jason Isaac Fields. They're going to prison. This is why you have this level of evidence. This is why you have it, because the federal government, this is, again, corrupt actors like Jason Fields, are not engaging in any investigation. He's going to prison. Prolonging what is justice, sitting on, holding, and having access to my property, which Jason Fields has no business. He is entirely irrelevant. He is a homosexual and a spouse of Tracy Banks, a co-conspirator of murder who should have no, if it weren't for being an illegitimate federal government, he should have no access to my property. And here's the fake moon on the opposite side over here. This is the fake moon over here, moving as I move, just like who are stalking, flying in circles over the top of my head, flying off like the cowards that they are. And there's the airport, no longer flying over the city hall, stalking. This is the entity that's doing so. I just want to be clear. Jason Fields is going to prison. Tracy Banks is going to prison. This is a planned fail. Mike LORENZ, he's going to prison. This is P.O.C. This is what the entity is doing while they are stalking me while I'm at the 10 freeway. And it's UPS, Southwest Airlines, they're being federally prosecuted. And the entity had a fake sun that set in Upland, California today. It did not even arrive in Ontario because these are psychopaths that are indeed engaged in that pattern of conduct. And they're engaging in terrorism and stalking. And they're doing so before the world. And they're doing so conspicuously to an American citizen, which is mandating federal prison. Gang stalking pilots, gang stalking police officers are going to prison. And gang stalkers like Tracy Banks, Jason Fields, and Eric Spencer are going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 11:54 p.m. where the environment and that department and the airport are stalking me. P.O.C. All right, in the images, you'll see the entity that is molesting with impossible light. These are demons lurking and at night with the Ontario Police Department, license 4EUZ046 and 9HQP063. They're both driving old Honda Civics. They're engaging in surveillance and molestation with engineered light on behalf of the Ontario Police in furtherance of that conspiracy to murder. They're committing sexual violence in doing so, and they're doing so while I'm publishing the evidence of the Ontario Police stalking me, which I just captured on video flying over my head. And the people of the state are stalking, in fact, doing so in sync with that entity. I just want to be clear, 4EUZ046 and 9HQP063 at the Ontario Town Square at what is 12 a.m. out stalking a woman, conspiring murder together as the gang members that they are. And this is why the Ontario Police is being disbanded and the people are going to federal prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 12 a.m. like I said.